Abilene, Kansas, 1881. There was a morning, before everything broke, when Gavin Rourke rode across his own land with Victoria Gales beside him and felt that his life had arrived exactly where it was supposed to be. It was April. The Kansas spring was doing what it does, green coming up through everything, the sky enormous and clean after a week of rain, the air carrying the smell of wet grass and good soil that meant the season had turned for real. They were riding the south pasture, where the fence line ran along the creek, and Victoria was ahead of him on the gray mare she had been riding since she was 14. Her copper hair was loose that morning. She had come out early, still half asleep, and had not pinned it yet, and it caught the April light the way copper catches light, which is completely and without any particular effort. He had known he was going to ask her since January. He had been waiting for the right moment, which kept being the next moment, and the next one, because every moment with Victoria felt like the right one, and none of them felt adequate. He rode up beside her. She looked at him with the gray eyes that had been seeing him clearly since they were 15 years old. He asked. She said yes before he finished the sentence, which she told him later she had been ready to do since a Tuesday 4 years earlier, when he had fixed the fence on the north side of her father's property and had shown up at the door afterward covered in mud and had apologized for the state of his boots, and she had understood, watching him, that she was going to marry this man. He asked her in April, and she said yes, and they rode back across the south pasture in the Kansas spring with the fence line behind them, and everything that was supposed to happen next arranged in front of them like something that had always been true and had only just been named. The weeks after the engagement were the best of Gavin's life. He would say this later, when he had the distance to say it accurately, that those weeks were the best, and that he had not known they were ending, which is almost always true of the best weeks of your life. Victoria's mother began the wedding dress in May. Gavin had seen it once, by accident, had come to the house earlier than expected and found the door open, and Victoria standing at the window in the half-finished dress, the late afternoon light coming through the muslin, and the copper hair pinned up, and her expression the expression of someone trying on a future and finding it fits. She had not seen him. He had not announced himself. He had stood in the doorway for 10 seconds and then backed away quietly, because the moment was not his to interrupt. He thought about it for the rest of that week. He was 25 years old, and he owned a working ranch, and he was going to marry Victoria Gales in September, and the dress was being made, and everything was as it should be. He did not know about Robert Callaway. Victoria knew. She had known since February, when she had seen him on the main street of Abilene, and he had seen her, and his eyes had moved the way they always moved when he looked at her. Not attraction, exactly. Possession. The look of a man who has decided something belongs to him and is patient about the collecting of it. She had been 16 the first time she had understood what his attention meant. She had been afraid of it since. She told herself she had nothing to tell Gavin. She had seen a man on the street and walked faster. She told herself this while the dress was being made and the September date was set, and Gavin came for supper on Tuesdays and Thursdays with the happiness of a man who has found what he was looking for and cannot quite believe it is real. She told herself this for 3 months. Then, in the second week of June, Robert Callaway came to the house when Gavin was not there. He sat in her kitchen. He told her very clearly, and without raising his voice, what would happen to Gavin Rourke if the wedding in September proceeded. She wrote the letter that night. Gavin found it on a Thursday morning. He had come for supper. He always came on Thursdays, and the door was unlocked, and Victoria's mother was at the kitchen table with the expression of a woman who has been sitting with information she doesn't know what to do with for several hours. She handed him the envelope without speaking. Victoria's handwriting. The careful, controlled handwriting of someone who had written and rewritten what they needed to say. Gavin, I am sorry. I can't explain everything here. I need to go away, and I need you to let me go. Please don't look for me. Please go on with your life. You deserve someone who can be there without complications. I love you, and that is why I'm asking you not to come after me. V. He read it 4 times. He went to the station. The ticket seller remembered a young woman with copper hair who had bought a ticket east that morning. He could not say which connection she had taken beyond Topeka. He rode back to the house. He sat at Victoria's kitchen table and read the letter again. He thought about going after her. He thought about the words, "Please don't." He thought about whether a man who loved someone honored the words she had written or the life they had been building. He sat with that for the rest of the day. He went home. He did not go after her. He told himself this was respecting what she had asked. He did not yet know it was the wrong decision. He only knew the letter said, "Please don't," and he had chosen to honor it. He would spend 2 years wondering what the right choice had been. He never stopped being certain she had needed him to make a different one. 2 years is not a long time by most measures. By the measure of a man who has lost the person he was going to spend his life with, without explanation, without destination, without the ability to understand whether she left or was driven away, 2 years is considerably longer than it sounds. Gavin ran his ranch. He did this because the ranch required it, and because work was the one reliable thing available to a man who was trying not to think about something that was always there. He did not look for her. He had promised not to, and he kept the promise, which cost him more than the promising had. There were weeks when he was certain she was well and had simply decided she needed a different life. There were other weeks, fewer as time went on, but never entirely gone, when he thought about Robert Callaway's name, which he had heard once, obliquely, from a man at the feed store who had stopped talking when he saw Gavin's face. He had not asked more. He had not asked more because asking more led somewhere he was not ready to go. In the spring of the 2nd year, he put the wedding dress in a box in the back of the wardrobe. Not to forget it, because having it visible was the kind of daily difficulty he was not going to allow himself. He was 26, then 27. He ran his ranch and went into Abilene on Tuesdays for supplies. On a Tuesday in October of 1883, he went to Abilene for a bag of feed and ended up somewhere else entirely. 30 yards ahead, copper hair. The specific way she carried herself, straight, unhurried, the economy of movement of someone who knows where she is going. A travel bag over one shoulder, a blue dress, walking toward the Abilene train station. Gavin stopped. He stood in the middle of the Abilene street and looked at the back of a woman he had not seen in 2 years and knew, with the certainty of someone who has been paying attention to one person for 10 years, that it was her. She was moving quickly. He moved faster. He reached the station as she was at the ticket window. He watched her pay, take the ticket, turn toward the platform. She did not see him. He went to the window. "Last ticket on whatever train she just bought for." The clerk looked at the board. "That's the Union Pacific eastbound, sir. Last seat in the 2nd car. Departs in 6 minutes." "I'll take it." He paid. He ran for the platform. The train was already moving, the slow crawl of a locomotive building speed. He ran alongside it. He grabbed the rear rail and pulled himself aboard. He stood on the rear platform and caught his breath. He had a ticket and a certainty that had survived 2 years of keeping a promise. That was all he had. He opened the rear door and went inside to find her. He found her in the 2nd car, window seat, left side, 4 rows from the back. She was looking out the window at Abilene receding. Her hands were in her lap. Her expression was the expression of someone who has done a difficult thing and is now managing the weight of it. He sat down across from her. She turned. The color left her face. They looked at each other across the narrow aisle while Kansas went past the windows, and neither of them said anything for a moment that was not short. "Gavin," she said. "Victoria," he said. She looked at the seat, at the window, at him. "You shouldn't have boarded this train," she said. He looked at her, at the copper hair and the gray eyes, and the 2 years visible in her face, not as age, but as the weight of something carried too long and too alone. I couldn't let you leave again," he said. She held his gaze. Then she looked at the window. Her hands in her lap were not entirely still. "How did you know I was here?" "I saw you on the street. I was going to the hardware." She closed her eyes briefly. "I was careful. I came in on the morning train. I was going to be gone before I saw you." "Yes." He looked at her directly. "Victoria, I have kept every word of that letter for 2 years. I have not looked for you. I have not asked about you. I have let you be wherever you needed to be." He held her gaze. "But I saw you walking to this platform, and I bought the last ticket, and I am on this train. And I need you to tell me what the letter didn't." She looked at the window for a long moment. Outside, Kansas was going past in the flat, specific way of the Kansas plains in October, enormous and gold, and indifferent to anything happening on the train moving through it. Then she looked at him, and she told him. His name was Robert Callaway. He was 34 years old and wanted in 3 territories. The charges ranged from armed robbery to the killing of a deputy U.S. Marshal in Nebraska the previous year. He had been moving west with the railroad expansion, which gave him new towns and new marks and new distances between himself and the consequences of what he did. He had been watching Victoria Gales since she was 16. Not the way a man watches a woman he wants to court, the way a man watches something he has decided is his, which is patient and certain and entirely indifferent to what the something wants. She had kept Gavin between herself and Callaway's attention for 4 years. The engagement had been, she thought, the end of it. A man like Callaway did not pursue what was clearly settled. She had been wrong about that. In June of 1881, he had come to the house and sat in the kitchen and spoken quietly for 10 minutes. He had named the date in September. He had named the method. He had said he would not be in Abilene when it happened. He had stood up, thanked her for the time, and left. She had written the letter that night. "I thought if I disappeared, he would stop," she said. "That there was nothing to take from you if I was gone." She looked at her hands. "I went to my cousin in Wichita. I didn't write to anyone. I stayed invisible." She paused. "Then, 6 months ago, I found out he had moved to Wichita. He didn't know I was there, but he was there." She looked at the window. "I came back to Abilene to find anything that could stop him through the law. A record, a witness, anything." She looked at him. "I found nothing. I was going back to Wichita to find somewhere else to go." Gavin was quiet. He looked at her, 22 years old and 2 years of running from something alone, with the gray eyes that had been seeing him clearly since they were 15 and had been keeping him at a distance for 2 years for exactly that reason. He looked at her hands, which had not entirely stilled. He put his hand over them. She stilled. "You should have told me," he said. "He would have killed you," she said. "He might have tried," Gavin said. "That is different from succeeding." She looked at their hands. "I know that now," she said. Her voice was quiet. "I have known it for 2 years." What neither of them knew was that a man named Hicks had been on the Abilene platform. He ran errands for Callaway in exchange for the protection Callaway's name provided in certain circles. He had been at the station for unrelated business and had seen the copper-haired woman board the eastbound train, had noted her specifically because 2 years ago, Callaway had described Victoria Gales in terms that made her easy to remember and difficult to mistake. He had also seen the young rancher sprint for the platform. He went to the telegraph office. The message reached Robert Callaway in Newton, Kansas, the next stop on the Union Pacific eastbound, 40 minutes before the train arrived. Gavin and Victoria were still talking when the train began to slow. He saw the change in her face before he understood it, the shift of someone who has seen something through a window that she hoped not to see. He turned. The Newton platform, and on it, with 2 men beside him, A man watching the second car with the focused attention of someone who has been given advance notice and has used it. "That's him," Victoria said. Her voice was level, the specific level of someone who has been afraid of something for a long time and has now arrived at it and is past the fear into something colder. Gavin looked at Robert Callaway on the Newton platform, broad-shouldered, patient, watching the windows the way he had apparently been watching Victoria for 6 years, with the attention of someone who does not understand that attention is not ownership. Gavin looked at her. "Stay on the train until I tell you otherwise." "Gavin, I need to know where you are," he said. "That is the only thing I need right now." She held his gaze. Her hands were still under his. "Come back," she said. "Yes," he said. The train stopped. He got off on the far side of the train and came around the rear of the last car. Callaway's 2 men were watching the passenger doors. Callaway himself was at the center of the platform, hands at his sides, eyes on the second car windows. Gavin came around the corner of the station building. He had his revolver. He was not going to draw it first. His father had told him once, "Speak first, speak clearly. Let the other man make the first mistake." In 25 years of living, it had never once been wrong advice. "Callaway," he said. Callaway turned. He assessed Gavin with the expression of a man calculating a variable he had not accounted for. Then his expression settled into something that was not quite a smile. "Rourke," he said. "Didn't expect you on that train." "Things changed," Gavin said. "Where is she?" "Not here," Gavin said. "Not going anywhere near you." Callaway looked at him with the patience of a man who has won enough confrontations to believe they all resolve the same way. "You have no idea what you're involved in." "I know exactly what I'm involved in," Gavin said. 6 years of you deciding a woman is yours because you saw her at a church social. A threat you made against me to drive her away. 2 years of her running to protect me from a problem I should have been solving. He held Callaway's gaze. "I know all of it." The flicker in Callaway's expression, uncertainty becoming anger, was the only warning. He gestured to the man on his left, and the man came forward fast. Gavin stepped into the movement, rather than away from it, and hit the man with the butt of his revolver before the man's own weapon was clear. The gun fell onto the platform boards. Gavin kicked it toward the station wall. He turned. Callaway was 3 feet away, his own revolver already drawn. Gavin raised his weapon and fired. The shot went wide. Callaway had moved faster than expected for a man his size. Callaway fired once. The bullet caught Gavin's left arm below the shoulder, the sharp, specific burn of something that had taken the edge rather than the center. He registered it. He kept his feet. He raised the revolver again. Then, from the station doorway, "Drop it!" The Newton Town Marshal. 2 deputies behind him. Someone on the train had gone for help, with the speed of people who understand when a situation requires it. Callaway did not drop it. He turned toward the marshal's voice and raised his weapon, and the marshal fired once. Callaway went down and did not get up. The platform went still. Gavin stood in the Newton morning with his left arm burning and the revolver still in his right hand. Then the station door opened, and Victoria crossed the platform and put both hands on his face and looked at him. "You're shot," she said. "Left arm," he said. "It's not serious." "Let me see it," she said. He let her. She was right, it was not serious. But she kept her hands on it anyway, and he let her. And the Newton morning was quiet around them. The Newton marshal was named Cole Reed. He had been keeping order in Newton for 15 years and handled the situation with the efficiency of someone who has been handed a thing with clear enough outlines. Callaway was dead. The 2 men who had been with him were in custody. The telegraph wires were already moving. Gavin sat in the marshal's office with his arm bandaged and gave his account. He told it plainly and in order. The engagement, The letter Victoria had received from Callaway, the threat, her disappearance, the 2 years, the train, the platform. Victoria gave her own account separately, with the directness of a woman who has been carrying something for 2 years and has put it down and is not picking it up again. Cole Reed listened to both. He made his notes. He sent wires to the marshal's offices in 3 territories. The answers came back by evening. Callaway had been wanted for armed robbery in Missouri, assault in Colorado, and the killing of a deputy U.S. Marshal in Nebraska the previous year. The men in custody would be transported. The deputy marshal's office would be notified. Cole Reed looked at Gavin and Victoria sitting across from his desk, the young rancher with the bandaged arm, and the young woman with the gray eyes who had been running from something for 2 years and had stopped. "You can go home," he said. Gavin looked at Victoria. She looked at him. "Yes," Gavin said. "We can." They took the westbound train the following morning. Gavin's arm was properly dressed. The Newton doctor told him it would be stiff for 2 weeks and would heal clean. On the westbound train, they sat together, and the Kansas planes went past in reverse, and neither of them felt the need to fill the silence immediately. Eventually, Victoria said, "I should have told you." "Yes," he said. "I was so afraid." "I know," he said. "I understand why you didn't." He looked at the planes. "It doesn't change that you should have, but I understand why." She was quiet. Then, "I wrote to you once, 6 months after I left. I wrote everything, Callaway. The threat, where I was." She paused. "I burned it before I sent it. I was afraid he had people watching the mail." He looked at her. "There was a letter," he said, "that you didn't send." "Yes?" "There's been a letter for 2 years," he said, "that I also didn't send." She looked at him. He reached into his coat, slowly, with the good arm, and took out a folded piece of paper, worn at the creases from being opened and refolded many times. He held it for a moment. "I wrote it in the first month," he said. "Every time I thought about going after you, I wrote it instead. 7 times. I kept the last one." She took it. She read it. He watched her face while she read. When she finished, she folded it carefully and held it in both hands. 7 times, she said. 7 times, he said. She leaned her head against his shoulder, the good shoulder, and he put his arm around her. The Kansas plains were enormous and unhurried around them. The arm would heal. The 2 years were over, and everything that was supposed to happen was still ahead, patient and unchanged, waiting with the certainty of things that were always going to be true. They were married in September, the same month they had originally chosen, 2 years later, in the same Abilene church with the same reverend who had been prepared to perform the ceremony the first time. Victoria's mother finished the dress in the 3 weeks between Newton and the wedding. She did not discuss it. She simply finished it, because some things need doing, and the doing is sufficient reason. Gavin stood at the altar in his good coat, left arm still slightly stiff, and watched Victoria come down the aisle. She was carrying wildflowers, a small bouquet, nothing formal, the kind that grew along the South Pasture Creek. She had picked them that morning. He thought about April of 1881 and the South Pasture, and the way the Kansas spring light had caught her hair. He thought about a letter that said, "Please don't," and 2 years of honoring it. He thought about a platform in Abilene and a last ticket, and a woman in the second car who had said, "You shouldn't have boarded this train." He thought about all the moments that could have gone differently, and the specific mercy of arriving here anyway. She reached the altar. She looked at him. After the ceremony, outside on the church steps, Victoria's mother held Gavin's arm and looked at both of them. 2 years, she said. Not an accusation, just the accounting of it. 2 years, Gavin agreed. She shook her head and went to speak to the Reverend. Victoria took Gavin's hand. "The South Pasture," she said. He looked at her. "What about it?" "I want to ride it tomorrow morning," she said, "before anything else." He looked at the September light on her copper hair, the same light, the same hair, the same gray eyes that had been seeing him clearly since they were 15. "Early," he said, "before the town wakes up." "Yes," she said. They walked away from the church into the Abilene September. The south pasture was 3 miles east. The fence line ran along the creek, and neither of them was going to waste a single morning of what came next. Gavin Rourke ran for a moving train on a Tuesday morning in October. He had gone to Abilene for a bag of feed. He had been walking to the hardware. He had seen copper hair 30 yards ahead and recognized the way she walked, and he had run. He had a ticket and a certainty that had survived 2 years of keeping a promise he should not have kept. That was enough. I think about the letters that did not get sent. The one Victoria wrote at 6 months and burned before sealing. The 7 Gavin wrote and kept in his coat until the last one was soft at the creases from being folded and opened and not sent. All the things we write to the people we love and do not send, because the moment seems wrong, because the risk seems too high, because we tell ourselves there will be another chance. There is not always another chance. Gavin had one because he happened to be walking to the hardware on a Tuesday in October, and he recognized what he saw, and he ran. Do not wait for the right moment. The right moment is the one you make. Send the letter. Run for the train. Do not let the platform empty while you are still deciding. May God bless each and every one of you who listened today. Until next time, keep riding.